the letter was never meant for him. It was meant for Santa, for miracles, for a kindness the world had forgotten. Yet there it was, trembling slightly in his hands, written in uneven letters on a folded white page, changing the course of a life worth billions and a heart worth nothing at all. If you believe that kindness can still rewrite fate, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindora Life, because stories like this are proof that second chances still exist in the daylight of ordinary lives. Armin Vale had everything the world applauded and nothing it truly admired. At 42, he was a self-made billionaire, the face behind glass towers and morning headlines, a man who signed deals worth more than most families would earn in a lifetime before lunch. His office sat high above the city, bathed in soft winter daylight, sunlight bouncing off steel buildings and slipping through floor-to-ceiling windows. Yet every morning felt the same, quiet, polished, hollow. The city buzzed below, alive and hopeful, while Armin moved through his hours like a guest who had overstayed his welcome in his own life. That morning had been scheduled down to the minute. Meetings, forecasts, holiday donations, all lined up neatly. The company's annual charity drive filled the lobby downstairs, employees dropping gifts into bins, smiling for photos, believing generosity could be measured in receipts. Armin signed off on it because that was expected of men like him. He didn't expect anything in return. He never did. The letter arrived by mistake, slipped into a stack of reports delivered to his desk. It was small, folded carefully, decorated with a shaky drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands under a sun that was clearly meant to be bright. At the top, written with effort and hope, were the words that stopped his breath mid-thought, "Dear Santa, please send me a dad." Armin sat down slowly, daylight stretching across his desk, the city frozen behind him. The letter went on in simple lines, explaining how the girl's mom worked all day and smiled even when tired, how there was no one to clap at school events, no one to fix broken toys or tell stories before bed. She didn't ask for toys. She didn't ask for money. She asked for a dad who would stay, someone kind, someone who wouldn't disappear. She promised to be good forever if Santa could make it happen. The name at the bottom was Mireia. Age 8. Armin hadn't planned to feel anything that day. Yet the words cracked something open he had sealed years ago. He remembered daylight too, long afternoons of waiting by a window as a child, watching other kids run into their father's arms while his own home stayed quiet. His mother had done everything alone, working until her hands shook, loving him fiercely but carrying a tiredness she could never hide. His father had been a story that ended too early. The letter followed him through the day like a shadow. In meetings, he heard her words instead of voices. At lunch, untouched food sat under bright windows while the sun traced slow lines across the table. By mid-afternoon, something rare happened. Armin canceled his schedule. Using company resources he rarely touched for anything personal, he traced the charity program the letter had been sent through. It led him to a modest community center flooded with daylight, children laughing in open rooms, paper decorations taped to windows. He arrived without cameras, without announcements, just a man in a tailored coat standing awkwardly in a place built on hope rather than profit. Mireia didn't recognize him. To her, he was just another visitor who knelt to her height and listened. Her mother, Sofia Reyes, carried gratitude and exhaustion in equal measure, her eyes cautious but warm. Armin didn't explain who he was. He didn't need to. He only said he had read a letter that mattered to him. What followed didn't feel like charity. It felt like learning to breathe again. Armin began visiting in daylight hours, helping with homework, showing up to school events, sitting on uncomfortable chairs while the sun poured through gym windows. He fixed a broken bicycle one afternoon, hands unfamiliar with grease but steady with purpose. Mireia laughed easily, trusting without knowing why, her world slowly widening to include someone who stayed. Change didn't come without fear. Armin battled the voice that told him he would ruin this too, that men like him didn't belong in simple, honest lives. Sofia watched carefully, protective of the fragile happiness forming around her daughter. But consistency speaks louder than promises. Day after day, Armin returned. He learned Mireia's favorite snacks, her fear of thunderstorms, her dreams of becoming a teacher. He learned how sunlight could feel warmer when shared. The turning point came during a school assembly held late morning, sun streaming through high windows. Children stood on stage, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. Mireia searched too, doubt flickering just before she saw him. Armin stood awkwardly among other parents, clapping too loud, smiling without restraint. In that moment, something settled inside him. He wasn't filling a role. He was building a bond. Weeks turned into months. The city kept moving, deals kept closing, but Armin's life had shifted towards something slower and brighter. He didn't rescue anyone. He simply showed up, and in doing so, found parts of himself he thought were lost forever. When legal papers were eventually signed under clear daylight skies, they felt less like contracts and more like promises finally kept. Mireia framed her letter and hung it near her bed, sunlight touching it every morning. The drawing remained imperfect, but now the three figures looked complete. Just before the end of this story, take a moment and comment one word that describes how this journey makes you feel. Your words matter more than you know. Years later, Armin would still keep a copy of that letter in his office, sunlight fading the ink slowly. Not as a reminder of what he gave, but of what he received. Love he hadn't earned. A family he never expected. A second chance delivered in a child's handwriting. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can arrive in the most unexpected ways, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them, just like Armin once did.